Last week on the Navigating Personal Growth podcast. So what we're not doing is trying to get more done in life. That is not what this episode is. However, it does tend to lend to some more free time when you use these tools effectively. Hey navigators, my name is Brooke Plack. Welcome to the Navigating Personal Growth Show, where we get real and talk about the real things in life and navigate through this journey together. So excited you're here for episode 130. If you're watching on YouTube, I have a bandage on my finger, totally unrelated to today's episode, but I burned it with hot water and it's so sensitive and hurts to touch anything. So now I have an ugly bandage. So it's glaring. If you're listening on podcast, your favorite podcast platform, then you can just imagine the bandage on my finger. Okay. It's nude colored with gauze sticking out of it and some strawberry stains on the end from my snack I had before recording. So here we are, totally unrelated, squirrel for the day. Today's episode, though, is sure to be a fun one as we are talking about how I'm using AI in my life right now. And so before all the scaries come out and we start having those things of I don't know what AI is and I don't know what to use and I don't know. I'm going to tell you, I felt exactly the same way, because if you Google artificial assistance or artificial intelligence, there is so much information out there and there are so many great tools out there. But for me, and in this episode, we're mainly going to talk about how and why I'm using it. And then I'll give you a few tips specific to ChatGPT, because that's the one that I currently utilize the most. Okay. So what we're not doing is trying to get more done in life. That is not what this episode is. However, it does tend to lend to some more free time when you use these tools effectively. And so last week, I asked ChatGPT to help me brainstorm some content episode ideas for the podcast, okay? So, Brooke, are you just letting AI write all the episodes for the podcast now? No. I've already told ChatGPT, okay, I have a project in there. And I've already told them all about my podcast, all about the topics that we talk about, all about the audience, all about the things that we like to tackle in life together. And it knows all of my notes from the last 130 episodes, so including today's show notes, and that this episode will release in July. And then we start with content ideas. Now, some of them are trash, they're no good, but every once in a while I come up with a good idea that I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use that. Maybe a mid-year reset. Okay, well, that just didn't really resonate with me. Yeah, that's a great podcast to record in July, but it just didn't feel like the right episode, right? So I didn't use it. But sometimes in life, there are quicker and easier ways to get all the information pulled in versus hours of searching through Google or some other search engine. And ChatGPT is one of those tools. And so there are ways that you can use it without it taking over. For example, if I said, write and record the entire podcast, well, that wouldn't be me. And that wouldn't be me sitting behind the screen talking to you. And it wouldn't be the same feel or the same vibe. And you would know. And so I'm going to talk about later in the episode how I'm using it to help me write my first book. And there's always so much of your own individual personality and twist that you infuse on everything. And using a tool like an AI assistant is just a little helper along the way. Okay. So one of the ways that I've realized that AI was a little bit more than a novelty and maybe let's view it as a creative partner, right? Or maybe a little bit of a time saver. Okay. So in my health journey over the last year, I've really dialed in my macros. So the amount of protein, the amount of carbs, the amount of fat I eat each day, and I record it, right? Well, as a woman that's aging, so I'm 40 now, I have to really be reflective about my hormones and all the things that happen through the month and through my monthly cycle. And so I've been very interested to learn how my supplements and different teas, I'm a hot tea drinker, could help and affect the different ways my body processes hormones throughout the month. And especially even when I travel, I'll give you a crazy example. So I was traveling last weekend. My son's in a rock band. He's 7 and he's a drummer. And we were in Tulsa and then we came home and I'm talking to my AI assistant about traveling and then being home and how I'm feeling. And it's like, okay, well, you really need to do a liver detox from traveling. So try this kind of tea and eat a couple Brazil nuts, because Brazil nuts have selenium in them. And selenium is like, helps clean out your liver. Like, who knew? Who has time to look all that up? Like, I don't know. Maybe you do, but like, very interesting, super easy things I can add into my diet, and bam, food is medicine there. And helps you feel better. I felt great all week until like the whole finger thing. And then I just, hyperextended my knee, walking my dogs like an old lady, and, that kind of stuff. AI cannot help me with either one of those things, but the rest of the stuff it can. And so it's enabled me to go deeper in my health and wellness journey quicker and faster than I probably ever would on my own. Like, I probably never would have actually looked that deep into what type of nuts I needed to eat, right? And so now I put some Brazil nuts in my Amazon cart, and here they come get delivered to the house, and I can eat one or two to help when I need to clean my liver out, because apparently when you travel and you're eating out and all the things and yada, 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 right? See, learned it all from ChatGPT, and now I sound smart, okay? So it's helping me in that way to optimize my health, probably in further ways than I would have ever done on my own. A couple of the other things I've done lately is, so I've talked about on the podcast before, I wear an Aura ring, which is a like sleep tracker, but also keeps up with your stress and your like movement and activity throughout the day. So every day I take screenshots from my Aura app and I upload it into the ChatGPT. Okay. Do the same thing with my meals. And so then it's been giving me like little tips, right? So like on my Aura ring, Tuesday, so today's Friday that I'm recording. So Tuesday I had a really bad headache, and there was a big stress window, even though I was like laying out at the pool and in the car driving, not stressful things. And so ChatGPT was like putting the two things together, the headache, the stress on the Aura ring. Oh, hormones. Here's where you're at in your cycle. You had an estrogen dump this day, likely. What? Like, who would know that? But then it all starts to make sense and makes me realize why I'm actually getting a headache about that time of the month, and so and so and so and so, right? All right. And then the other thing that's been cool is, I told you I was traveling. Well, I uploaded the screenshots of how I track my meals in my Fitness Pal. So I'd uploaded those into ChatGPT and like, hey, look at this. Are there any tips you have? And it's like, yeah, you should add some dill to your lunch, like the herb. Well, I have dill in my garden. So out I go, because apparently that helps with cleansing the liver. And I'd been traveling. Like, what? Like, I feel like I know what I'm doing. And I actually have no nutrition training whatsoever. And so there's so many quick and easy ways. And those are just a couple of the ways that I've been using them lately in my health and wellness journey. So enough about me. We're going to pull back the curtain and talk not only about how I've been using AI, but also how you can use AI in your life to help leverage your time across your work and your life and keep it from running the show, right? Because we all have that like robot Jetsons fear. Like, is our robots going to take over? And like, do you guys even know who the Jetsons are? Like, surely, right? I mean, if you're a 90s kid, 80s kid, Jetsons and Flintstones. So I see things now and I'm like, that was in the Jetsons. Like, if you just watched the Jetsons, you would have seen that they already were going to do that. So let's talk about what is AI, or artificial intelligence. And I'm going to out one of our listeners, my friend Brenda. So about 6 months ago, she says to me, I can't get Al off my phone. He's on iPad. He's on my Facebook every time I go on there. I'm like, who? And she's like, Al. And I'm like, oh, AI. And she's like, is that what that is? Because, like capital A, capital I just looks like an L. So it's not Al. All right. I love you, Brenda. I'm sure you'll be listening to this episode. It is AI, which stands for artificial intelligence, which is not ET phone home, but they are computer programs that can generate, analyze, and predict content on patterns and data. So the more content it has about you and your life or whatever it is you're researching, the more it's going to be able to regurgitate information back to you that helps you make sense of it, right? So it's not a sci-fi robot, but it is more like an assistant that can help you brainstorm and organize things and learn too. Like, think about all like the random facts I just told you about traveling and detoxing your liver. And like, I didn't know that last week, but like, I know these things now, but I've been able to learn so much at a much more rapid pace versus having to spend so much time reading blogs and articles. Now, we still need blogs and articles. Don't get me wrong, because AI pulls from those and pulls that information in. And so I like this quote by Matt Mullenweg. He says, technology is best when it brings people together. So it's not about being in a silo by yourself, learning all these things and never talking to another human, but it is a tool to create connection and creativity and not to isolate or replace people. And so yesterday, I dropped my son off at my friend Elizabeth's house. He was playing with her granddaughter, and we've been wanting to take a trip. Okay, up to Maine to see the whales this summer. And so we are both sitting there with our ChatGPT across the living room, typing in what we're wanting to do, and it's spitting back the information to us. Here's the airport to fly into. Maybe you should drive through these states, and here's the airport to fly out of. And so we sat there and booked our flights, and we've done just a tiny bit of brainstorming in ChatGPT as we're talking about what hers said, what mine said, what we want to do, what we don't want to do, and bam, flights are booked and we're ready to go. So it just helps optimize things and helps you get things done quicker so that you have time to do what matters most. So that is the thing I'm going to tell you not to take away from this episode is, but if I use this, then I can just get more done. And life is not about doing. What if it's just about being, right? Okay, so here's my question for you. Where could you use a little extra brain power or a fresh perspective in your life? Because I want you to consider AI as an extension of your creativity, not a shortcut around growth. And so we're going to take a break from my favorite segment in the podcast. And after we come back, I'm going to tell you about how I'm using ChatGPT to do something that I absolutely hate, and it's actually bringing me joy. So here we go. Where can you find the world's longest operating Santa school? Nothing like Christmas in July, right? Midland, Michigan. The Charles W. Howard Santa Claus School, the world's longest operating Santa school, is located in Midland, Michigan. Founded in Albion, New York, but in 1937 and later it relocated to its current location. And here's what they learn at Santa School. You ready for this? They learn skills necessary to convey a convincing Father Christmas, including how to ride a sleigh, how to build toys in a workshop, learning lyrics from popular Christmas songs, how to properly dress like Santa, and it even includes the timings required to get into your festive get up. So for example, applying your Santa makeup should only take 30 to 35 seconds. Pretty cool, huh? So Santa School, who knew, right? All right, here are navigation points. So if it's your first time on the podcast, so glad you're here. So glad you've made it this far in the episode. But if you're returning, you are familiar. So we have navigation points every episode to help us get from where we are to where we want to be. Because I don't believe there's any destination this side of eternity in life, and that everyone gets to write their own journey. And that's what's a beautiful part about life. And so here are navigation points for today, including the thing that I hate to do that I'm using AI to do to bring me joy. So first up, using AI for creative brainstorming and content prep. Okay. Miss Brenda, my friend, calls me, or Marco Polo's me the other day, and she's like, oh, I've got to write this speech for Rotary. I'm not very good at writing speeches. And I'm literally out on my morning walk, and I type it into ChatGPT, and it spits out a speech. I copy and paste it and send it to her, and then she feels confident in her speech. Do you think she read the speech word for word, exactly what I sent her? Probably not. But it gave her a good starting point and a launch pad, so she didn't have to sit there with a white screen and a blinking cursor and not knowing what to write. Because I know we've all been there, whether it was in college or trying to type the right message or make a social media post. So it is really great for brainstorming and prepping, but you've got to always proofread, okay? Right now, I'm using ChatGPT. I have a project set up in there, and I'm writing my first book. And so I knew what I want my book to be about. I knew loosely what I wanted my chapters to be about. And so I used the tool to help me create a more firm 14-chapter outline. And I had like 18 different chapter topics. It's a nonfiction book that I wanted to do. And it helped me narrow down like, okay, well, these two are like almost exactly the same. So you really could combine those two together, and got me to a more rounded. I was really shooting for like a 12 to 14, right? So is it being me? Is it writing the book for me? No. I write it's such like a casual, broken like tone that's like you're sitting there conversating with one of your friends and eating a granola bar, right? There's no way ChatGPT could write for me, but it does help me in that structuring of the outline and making sure I'm getting at the topics across. And I'm going to test it out in editing, but not yet. So I've already finished a chapter, but I'm not ready for edits yet. I'm just going to go through and write all 14 chapters before I do the edits. So maybe I'll do another episode later about editing with it. So that's our first navigation point of how we can use AI to make our lives better. And that's using it for creative brainstorming and content prep. But if you always proofread, let me say that, not when, but if you always proofread, you will always still be interjecting your own personality and your own thoughts. I do not recommend like copy, paste, send, right? Because it's not you, but it can give you a launch pad. All right. The second one is just for general life administration and adding margin to your lives, because we all need more margin, right? So, for example, scheduling, if that's something you struggle with, these are all the things I need to get done. Here's my calendar outline for the week. Put them where they go. Done. It can take 60 seconds. It's done. Maybe you have a to-do list and you need to prioritize it. For me, I've been using it for meal planning, quick email drafts. You can create templates that you can copy and paste over and over if you're getting the same emails from, not friends, but like colleagues, consultants, work things for sure. And even using it for daily check-ins on how I'm feeling. So I, mentioned I hyperextended my knee. So I've been checking in on ChatGPT to tell them how my knee's feeling. So it could give me like some tips on things to do, because I'm very anti-surgery until like the absolute last, resort. And so I don't want to run to an ortho doctor because I know they're in the business of doing surgery. So I want to make sure that I've done everything I can do before I go to a doctor, right? But here is my, little like growth lesson, if you will, with this one. So when you're using it for your life administration and margin, think of it as you're delegating pieces of your routine so that you can work on like the tasks that you need to do the most and guard your rest. Underline, star, star, star. Okay. So if I can do these things faster, that doesn't mean I need to add more to my plate. And that is my only like fear with ChatGPT, specifically in America, not ChatGPT, but just AI in general, is that we see it as a way to get more done so we can get more done. And what if we saw it as a way to get more done more efficiently and then we did less? Because that seems like a more aligned and peaceful life to me. So I'm very on board with using it, but I'm not on board with doing it just so you continue to work 60 or 70 hours a week, because then you're taking on an insane amount of workload, right? All right. And then the last one is about the task I hate. So using AI to assist in tasks you dread. So maybe you aren't good at writing social media posts and it can knock it out for you, right? Once you tell it exactly who you are, what your business is, what you're looking to get across, it can help you in that way. But for me, my example is decorating my house. That's where I'm at right now. Okay. So we've been living in our house for about 6.5 years and wanting to like spruce up some of the rooms, but I am no good at decorating and don't actually want to be good at it. It's not something I want training in. It's not something I need you to teach me how to do. Like I want to take a picture of the bookshelf and then I want ChatGPT to fill in the bookshelf and tell me what it should kind of look like. And then I'll go to like TJ Maxx or Goodwill or to Habitat and like find little things to put in there. Right. So I'm currently redoing my living room for like a rock and roll vibe. And so I used it to help like with pillow selection and blanket ladder and things on the wall and how to use vinyls. And now it looks good and I'm happy and it brought me joy. I'm not becoming a designer, but I didn't have to like stress and spend hours and hours poring over how to do this, right? So there are things that you can do with it if they can take you out of what's called your drudgery zone, right? That you don't want to do, but you still need to get done. And so for me, that was decorating the house. And so I'm so happy though, when I walk and sit in my living room, it just feels more peaceful and more, just that moment where it feels great. So that's another way I've been using ChatGPT lately. So for me, here is my boundary note though, is I think you have to set clear limits. Okay. So whether you are comfortable talking about personal information with ChatGPT or not, I would recommend going into the settings, and there is a setting, and I'm reading it to you, so make sure that I say this right. Turn off the improve the model for everyone. So like, let's say you're having to analyze your business financials. Well, if you don't have that turned off, your business financials now become data that everybody can pull from. If you are talking to it about your mental health, now it becomes data for everyone to pull from. If you are writing, like I am right now, my manuscript for my first book, then if I had that in there, it would now become content that anybody could pull from. Well, I don't want anybody to pull from it. It's my book, my writing, my property. And so I want to release it when I'm ready to release it, right? So, and there's also one I noticed on there recently that I don't think's been on there forever, and it says background conversations. And so I would highly recommend going and turning that one off. I have not dove, maybe that might be the right word. I've not doven. I still don't feel like that sounds right. I've not taken a deep dive. There we go. Into what all background conversations it's recording, but I turned it off. So if you want your things private, make sure you fix those settings. If you're using Gemini or Canva or any of the other tools that have AI models in them, definitely look at your settings, Siri even, Alexa, and get comfortable with how the settings are so that you are comfortable with what information of yours is being shared, right? So here are my closing thoughts for you is technology is not a tool. Remember that technology is a tool, not the master. So this is another tool you can put in your toolbox, just like journaling, emotions wheels, positive communication, all the things that we learn about right here together on the podcast. This is a tool to help you optimize your life so that you can spend more time doing what matters the most to you. It can free up brain space for creativity, underline connection, and most importantly, rest. But the heart of your growth still comes from your unique story and your human touch and your willingness to lean into what feels hard. So you can use AI safely, but you don't have to let it use you. Because remember, we're not trying to just get more done in life. We are trying to free up space for what matters the most in your life. Until next time. Thanks for listening to the Navigating Personal Growth podcast. I'm Brooke Plack. Join me again next week on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. This podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.